So they do the vast majority of the inspections and what have you, and I do the more of the business side of things. So liaising with managing directors, business unit meetings, and more of a group function rather than a regional function. But I have worked my way into that position since I've been with Bovis. So as has already been said, so I joined up in 2004, Royal Air Force Regiment, and had a good career and served, 5 years, and then realised, well, this isn't it. So for you guys that, have done sort of in between the 5 and 10 years, this is probably more relevant for you guys. For you guys that have done like 22 plus, I think what I'm saying is going to be relevant, but probably a bit more. I didn't leave having the experience that a lot of you guys that have served 22 years have, and the qualifications. So it's probably going to be more relevant to the guys a bit like me, basically. So yeah, I left and realised it wasn't for me. I tried to join the police, and that happened around about 2008, 2009, when we had a big recession and the police actually cut a massive amount of numbers. So I put loads of time and effort into something that I thought I really wanted to do. And I spent years waiting and it never happened. So I ran out of options. I didn't really particularly like what I was doing at the time, which was a severe, like a job in a shop. And I used it as a stopgap thinking, yep, I'm going to get in the police. This is definitely going to happen. I've heard other stories from other vets who've left and tried to get in, the likes of the fire brigade and the police around about that time. And it was a very similar experience to what I had, where we were just waiting and waiting. Nothing ever happened. So yeah, I was working a really naff job. I didn't like it very much. And I thought, right, well, what can I do about that? So I always knew about the MPGS, so the Provost Guard Service. So I thought, right, it does no harm. I'm used to stagging on. I'll rejoin, and I'll see what I can do from there. I'm not going to make a career out of it, but it'll give me the opportunity to at least put one foot on the ground again and start again. So I rejoined, and within my first week being there, I went to see the education team at RAF Cosford, and I got myself enlisted straight onto some courses. So in the background, I was talking to one of my relations who's a project director within civil engineering. And although he said, I could probably get you a job doing this, that, and the other, I would concentrate on strong health and safety qualifications. To which I went, right, okay, yeah, that makes sense. This is the way everything is going. So I signed up on the NEBOSH general certificate and the construction. Worked through them. I passed them. So excellent. I've got some really good qualifications behind me, stuff that employers look for. But what do I do with them? How do I go about? So I started looking and started applying for various things. Initially, I would have been happy doing some kind of warehouse health and safety job or whatever. But that opportunity, I chose not to take just on the basis of salary and what would happen if I uprooted myself from the MPGS at the time. So I was in a strong position. I was working 4 days on, 4 days off. I was gathering experience on the side, working another job on my 4 days off at a sawmill. So even though I was humping and dumping bits of wood and making fence panels on my CV, what it said was that I was a health and safety guy at the place, which is true in part. I used my qualifications to help the manager out there because he didn't understand that he needed a health and safety policy. He didn't understand that he needed to write risk assessments because he employed more than 5 people. So it did work, and I was able to use that experience and put it on my CV. My first opportunity, or the one I'm still in now, which is the one I just picked up and ran, is came about through the Facebook group Ex-Forces Jobs, which is a great group, and I know quite a lot of people have found stuff on there. And an opportunity came up. It just said, looking for people to come into a management position, health and safety backgrounds preferred, etc. So I applied for it. A lot of recruiters won't tell you what it is. So this is why you've sometimes just got to dive at things and just see what it actually is first and see whether they're interested in you. So when it came back, it was actually a position for trainee assistant site managers for Bovis Homes. So when I heard that, I thought, well, that's really good. That's, that is something that'll be up my street. It's a health and safety related type job. But also it will give me a construction experience as well. But my end goal was always to come into health and safety. So one thing I would say is that never pass up things because on the face of it, it doesn't appear to be where you want to be in the end. Go for something that looks good, and you can always work or manipulate from the inside to get yourself where you want to be. So I joined Bovis as an assistant site manager. Within a year, I was made full assistant site manager rather than a trainee. And I spent a good 3 years doing that. And that really gave me a hell of a lot of operational experience of a building site, how it works. All the while I was communicating with the group head of health and safety about my qualifications and background and stuff, and making myself known. It does no harm in talking to these people in your organisation, telling them what you've got, what you've done, what experience you have. And it just so happened, again, a bit of luck. I've had no luck and then lots of luck, but a position came available. So I went for it. I threw my name in. I think it wasn't expected by my current line manager because they were from a production background. But that is where I wanted to be. That's the direction I wanted to be in. So I put my name in and I got the position. So I became a junior health and safety advisor, which was a horrible job title. I hated it. But I went with that. I learned from the current safety advisors that were with Bovis at the time. It didn't take long. 6 months later, I dropped the junior. I was then the regional health and safety advisor for the organisation. And then not long after that, so I've been with them 6 years now. So I would say within the last 2 years or so, I've been a senior health and safety advisor. So that put me in a position of working very closely with the group health and safety director, writing management systems for the company, using my production knowledge background to provide real life health and safety, not just a very flowery management system that looks absolutely fantastic, but it's crap and no one actually wants to follow it. So having that background has helped me a great deal. And very recently, it's changed again, in which I was a senior health and safety advisor before with very limited sort of administrative duties, but now I've been promoted to the manager role. So I've got 4 guys to look after, who conduct the most of the inspections and stuff like that. So it's changed, and it's something I've just ran with, and I've done well out of it because that was my end goal. That was the plan. I stuck to my plan. All right, I went, okay, I didn't go for plan A, I didn't go for B, C, or D, but I went for D and came back to A. And that's what I would advise you guys to do as well. Don't believe that, I need to be a health and safety advisor to get into health and safety. It's not always the case. You can go into a production type role. You can go to anything, admin. We've got a lady that works for us now who's an administrator, but the amount of stuff she's learned and picked up as a health and safety admin is unreal. And, potentially I tap her up for being one of our advisors in the future because she knows what she's talking about now. And she understands our systems, etc. So don't ever just decide that, it must be a health and safety role. Look for other things because it did me a whole lot of good coming in that direction. And about done with waffling, really. I don't know if any questions.
Tom, that was sorry, Rob, that was absolutely brilliant. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, yes, thank you. I've actually written down quite a few questions, so I'm going to come back to you. But what we'll do is we'll pass over to Greg at the moment if he's there. Yeah. And sorry, Tom, can you switch off your camera? That's okay, our guest, Tom. Thank you.
Am I good to go, Angela?
Yes, you're good to
Smashing.
go. I'm just waiting for our guest to switch his camera off if he's able to. Okay. Thank you.
Right, good morning, everyone. So I think the idea this morning is I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, give you some insight into what I do for a job, and then I think I'll give you some tips which have given me success over the years. And then following that, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Tricia. She's going to tell you a little bit about our employer, Morgan Sindall, and how we might be able to help really while you're transitioning to Civvy Street. That sound good? Okay. So my name is Greg Duran. I'm a chartered safety professional, and I'm also a PhD candidate at Lancaster University, Department of Health Research. In a previous life, I was in the infantry, 2nd Battalion Duke of Lancaster Regiment, and I left in 2014 after serving about 7 years and done 3 tours of Afghanistan. I don't know what really drove me to health and safety, to be honest. I think it's just something that we all have in us, that visceral desire to help people. I suppose that's why we all join the forces in the first place. So my current job now is a senior safety, health and environmental advisor. And that at the moment, that sees me support build projects for a commercial construction company that builds stuff from schools, commercial office blocks, healthcare buildings, refurbs, so on and so forth. Currently at the moment, I'm supporting 4 projects, 3 in Manchester and 1 in Liverpool. 2 of those are high-rise residential tower blocks. One's coming to the end of its production, the other one's just beginning. And I'm also supporting 2 university buildings that are being built, 1 in Liverpool, 1 in Manchester, 1 for Salford University and 1 for Liverpool John Moores. Now, they're all unique in design, features, and the characters that come with the teams is vast as well. So there's quite a lot to learn from people and a wealth of experience amongst those teams. I'd probably say my working environment fluctuates quite a bit. So I could be 2 days in the office one week, 5 days on site the next. There's a lot of variance, and I suppose that's what attracted me to the role. I know it sounds quite cliche, but no 2 days are the same, and it does keep it interesting. My working pattern, I'd probably say I'm an early riser, so I could be in work at 7 o'clock, finish at 4, or some days it might be 8 o'clock, finish at 5. It depends really. The construction industry is quite get up and go. People do seem to start quite early. So that sort of just gives you an idea of how your time's spent, what your working day looks like. As you can see, there's a lot of variety. I'd probably say my efforts are probably split in thirds. And what I mean by that is I'd say I invest about 30% of my time into people. I spend that time sort of acting like a conduit, helping people understand health and safety law, guidance, educating them on what applies in what context, and sort of sharing my experience on them matters. Building relationships also really important to me as well, because what I found is you can have the best laid plans and health and safety strategy, but ultimately when the work starts, it's up to the workers to implement that. And that seems to work best when you've invested in them as people. Like I alluded to earlier, there's a lot of characters in construction. There's also a wealth of experience. So you've got to remember to network, because it can lead to the opportunity to learn a hell of a lot. You've got to remember everyone's experience is unique. So there's always the opportunity to gain a new perspective. And it's best to learn from someone else's experience than go through it yourself and make error, I suppose. We've all got areas what we're strong in, and we've all got areas what aspects of ourselves we could improve, and that networking also provides a safety net. So if you do come across a scenario as a professional, you can lean on a colleague or a connection you've made and say, "Hey mate, do us a favour, you've been through this scenario, how would you handle it?" So that's the importance of networking, and I suppose that's why I'd also recommend going to Build Force for a mentor, because it's just having that safety net under you, that support asset. So when you are starting off and you might want to turn to your line manager because you feel a bit proud or whatever, you can lean on your mentor and say, what have you done, mate, in that scenario? So yeah, so definitely make the most of the build force asset and get out there and build relationships. That's what I'd say. So my next third, my other 30% is probably spent on process. And what I mean by that is that sort of implementing the management systems for the business. So that could be tender applications, inputting safety risk management into those. It could be sitting down with a contractor to review their arrangements. It could be doing an audit for BSI, a safety inspection, an accident investigation. There's quite a lot to go at. There's a lot of variety in disciplines within the profession. There's a lot of technical aspects. So I'd probably say a third of my time goes on that. And that leads me on to my next third, which is probably the most important. And I'd say you've got to invest in yourself. You've got to invest a hell of a lot of time in yourself. And I'm paraphrasing Jim Rohn here, but ultimately an employer pays you for the value you add, not for the time you spend there. But it takes time to add value. So you need to go away and invest in yourself, in your technical abilities, your attitude, your people management skills. So recently, IOSH, for those who don't know, is the Institute of Safety and Health. They've done a review of the competency framework for the modern day safety professional. And it transpired that the 69 competencies that they expect you to have to be successful. So as you can see, there's a lot of variety and a lot of areas you can delve into to blossom as a professional. And I think the more you start diving into these areas and getting familiar with them, and the more networking you do, the more you'll understand what you like, what you enjoy, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and then you start planning your career. And that's where the fun starts to happen. But you need to also remember, success comes with failure as well. So like Rob alluded to, you've got to expect to have a few ups and downs, but it's sort of how you bounce back from them and your attitude towards failure, what will define you and define the success you'll have, I suppose. Something that's helped me along the way is reflection. It's been a massive part in helping me progress as a safety professional. And for me, that looks like at the end of every day, I'll cast my mind back on a day and think, right, how could I have helped that scenario? What could I have done better? How could I enhance that conversation with that person? And when you start doing that, you start really scratching at the surface of your discipline and understanding, how does that work? Why does that work like that? And that's where progress happens, I'd say. Okay. And my last 10% I'd probably say is on snacking, daydreaming, and traveling. No, but seriously, build relationships, reflect, get used to handling failure and success hand in hand, plan, and you can't go far wrong, honestly. I'm going to send Caroline and Angela some links to some resources on those areas, so you can go away and do a little bit of reading and look at the IOSH framework website, start looking at understanding what technical disciplines are available within the safety realm. And yeah, that's it really. I hope that helped, and thanks for listening. And if you've got any questions, please just let me know and I'll answer them the best I can.
Greg, that was brilliant. I actually do have a few questions. I'm going to hold you to your kind of daydreaming point and what it is you daydream about. Okay, is Tricia there? If you can switch your camera on. Hi, Tricia. Is your mute off?
Yeah, now it is.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm Tricia Adams, Community Investment Manager for Morgan Sindall. I work alongside Greg. So Morgan Sindall, just so that you know, it's made up of 3 different arms, which is the construction, investment and regeneration. So there's different partnerships that bring us to the group. That's the business model. So we use the investments from our construction activities to invest in regeneration schemes that create the long-term profit and stakeholder value. My role for you today, and what I can offer you guys, is that we offer work placements, work shadowing opportunities. We do mentoring, upskilling, training for that transition of where you've been to see what you want to go into and what you want to do for the future. We're here to advise, and as Greg said, I think networking is one of the main points of this. So if you do ever get a foot in the door with a work placement or a work shadowing, you take that opportunity and, like Greg said again, and just invest in yourself really and where you want to be, and the opportunity will be to where you take that. So I'm here today just to answer any questions, any requests that you might have for any of these work placements on site. And that's more or less it. And we can also offer links with our supply chains as well. So if it is a certain aspect of construction that you're interested in, we can make them brokerages with the supply chain to then get you a foot in that door as well. Would you say anything else, Greg? Have I missed anything?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think the main thing is just letting you know we're here. We can help. We can make introductions. You can get some site time with us. I'm more than happy to spend an hour with you on site, introducing you to concepts you might be learning on your NEBOSH. We're only a Teams call away from a conversation, I suppose. So yeah, we're here, guys. Use us. Like I said, that's what it's all about. Just building relationships up, building that support network, enhancing your technical aspects, and then just understanding what you like, what you don't, and what area you want to focus in. Alluding to what Rob said, your journey's not going to be a straight line. It's going to weave. You might think 1 minute you're in logistics, 1 minute you're on site, next thing you're an health and safety manager. That's a testament to say, Rob had his destination and he had stops along the way, but along them way he's picked up skills which have obviously been valuable to him and helped him along his way. And that's what it's all about, guys. Sometimes things don't seem as they appear, but there's always something to learn from everyone. That's what I've found.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Greg. Well, I'll kick off with a few questions. Rob, I don't know if you're able to turn your mic off.
Yep.
And then we'll see the questions come in. So the first question I had for you, Rob, was you said that you progressed quickly. So in 6 months from junior health and safety manager up to regional. What did you do in that 6 months? How did you demonstrate your capability and your skills?
I was able to operate on the same level as all my peers. That's really it, to be honest with you. I was given the opportunity to do it, hence why I was put under the bracket as junior. I think that was because, this guy, he has production background, but does he have the necessary health and safety skills to do it? And within 6 months, I then proved that I was able to be on the same sort of level with my peers. And like what Greg said, add value in terms of background in production, as well as the health and safety side as well. So when we're talking about other skills gained in other areas, it's absolutely crucial, and it doesn't necessarily always matter that it's your current job role. It can be skills you've gained from elsewhere, like your current, the guys that are serving now have got so much experience. They just, as bizarre as it sounds, they don't know how good they are until they land somewhere and they're able to prove themselves. That's the really bizarre thing. So that's kind of why I think it can happen quite quickly. And like I say, I just adopted the Forrest Gump style and just ran until I got where I wanted.
Well, it's obviously worked.
Yeah.
So a question to both of you. We hear sometimes the health and safety role can include quality and environmental, and I know environmental features in your title, Greg. What is the environmental element of the role?
Well, instantly, it's when you're planning a construction project, you've got to think of the effects you're going to have on the environment. So it's just looking at the risk mitigation for that, and not also risk mitigation, how you can enhance the environment as well. What you'll find with a lot of planning conditions is there may be a requirement to introduce bat boxes or stuff along them lines. So yeah, it's just sort of understanding that the economy is part of a society, but ultimately we're all part of the environment. So we need to make sure we don't damage it just to gain progress as a society, and it's just enhancing that as well as health.
Good. Okay, no, thank you for that. Okay, I'll ask Matt Keary if he could switch his camera on, please. He has a question. Are you there, Matt? And we also have Ushi, if you can switch your camera on as well. Ushi, if you've got a question. Hi, Matt. Sorry, we'll start with you first. Hi, good morning.
So I've heard a lot about NEBOSH, but I've actually just completed an NCRQ Level 3 Safety for Managers. Is that something that's recognised in the industry?
Yeah, definitely. It's been endorsed by IOSH as well. So if you carry on and do the diploma in that, you'll get the grad IOSH status. The chap who actually developed it used to work for the HSE, which is the governing body for health and safety. So yeah, I'd definitely say it's a recognised qualification. Yeah,
the NCRQ is brilliant, and it's all experience and coursework based, which is a lot better for some people than the exam route. So like my current I'm probably different to Greg. Greg's chartered. I'm not. I'm a graduate member of IOSH. So when we get into the technicalities, I've completed the City and Guilds MVQ diploma in occupational health and safety. But there's other routes to get to that level as well. And like I say, the NCRQ is another way. I think the level 3 is there's a level 5 or 6 from what I understand. So that would be the one to get you above a technical member of IOSH into a graduate level. And obviously then what Greg's done is then gone a level above that. It's chartered. So certainly what you've done has got you on the first rung. It's a great thing to have. And keep going.
Well, I'm going to look at the level 6, which is the diploma. Can I ask one more question, please, Angela?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
On the previous H&S chat, John Dunn mentioned about the health and safety guys becoming more part of wellbeing and looking after the workforce. I'm also doing a level 2 mental health first aid course. Is that something that's looked at, or is it more a case of looking?
Yeah, definitely. I've done that course myself. What you got to remember is no business can operate without the people. So health and well-being is so important. It really is, and it's on the forefront of everyone's agenda. The mental health first aid course, I've had to use it, unfortunately, both in and out of work. So it's definitely a good qualification to have as a person, I suppose, for your family, your friends, and in the workplace. So yeah, it's worthwhile.
It would also do you. So I agree. I've done the mental health first aid course as well. We've got trainers in our organisation, so it's something every organisation is looking at, and it's definitely not a bad thing to have. There was a question from Robert McKee there about other qualifications on top of your core stable being your NEBOSH, your MVQ, your NCRQs. But don't forget, guys, whatever industry you want to target in health and safety, look at what makes a current health and safety advisor competent in that area. So for a construction health and safety advisor, we'd want to see that the guy has scaffolding understanding, so scaffolding inspections, temporary works, first aid, CSCS qualifications, all that stuff. So look into whichever direction you want to go, whatever industry, and that's another important point. Sorry to go off tangent, but whatever. Me and Greg are coming from a sort of construction environment here, but health and safety is massive. It goes everywhere. Like I say, it goes into manufacturing, you name it, the water board, electricity. But look at what makes that person competent and go for that, as well as to do your research on currently what people have.
And Rob, do you think these qualifications are needed at interview stage? Would you suggest?
Potentially not. It depends on the organisation, because I know that the Bovis of old were very much, it's about the person. So we're not necessarily too worried about what's on paper, but other organisations are. They'd like to see that you've had some form of training, some form of just basic understanding in the form of qualifications. There's nothing wrong with either approach, but I know some organisations want the person first, then they train them and give them the tools to succeed. Other organisations want you to come in, tooled up with the certificates to do the job already. So think of both outcomes. That's what I did, and do both basically.
Okay, Matt, does that help?
Cool, thank you. That's brilliant.
Yeah, you're
it does
very
a great deal.
welcome.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks. O'Shea, you there? We'll ask your question. Hi.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you very much, Angela.
That's okay.
Greg and Tricia made mention of something really important about work placement and mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
I have got a degree in environmental health. I've got a NEBOSH. I've just recently completed the NTRQ Safety for Managers, and also just registered with my IOSH and CIEH. So I'm looking at transitioning in the next couple of months. So I was just trying to understand if they've got opportunities for work placement and mentorship in the Teesside area, where I can kind of get my foot in the environment slowly, just in build up for when I actually leave in a couple of months' time, to just get me onto a good platform. And also, they talked about networking, trying to get me out there, giving me an opportunity to do that, I think would help me to start networking slowly. So if they could help me or sort of give me a good guide and support in that direction, I think that would help me to start getting my foot, on the ground before the actual, exit period. Yeah. So if they could sort of help me on that, that would be really good.
Okay.
Yeah, Ushi, what we'll do is we'll speak to our colleagues in different parts of the region and see if there's an opportunity to visit one of the sites there, maybe with the environmental advisor. Go out on site and have a walk around and sort of get a feel for it. And then there's no harm in us having a Teams call and going through digging deeper really, and going through some of the more topics what you want to get familiar with. That sound helpful?
Does that help, Ushi?
Yeah, that would be really, really good. I look forward to just getting that feedback, on how to move things. But I think, Greg, that's really good. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Oh, no worries.
And a question for Tricia. Tricia, I've got a shed load of questions for you, but just like to Ushi's point here, if you have got somebody at home or on leave at the moment, they're on LinkedIn, they're on the company website, they don't really have a contact name as such, what would you advise they do to try and make some sort of connection with an organisation? So they want to say work experience. Sorry, you're mute. Sorry, Tricia.
So for today, I'd say probably come through yourself, because you've got Morgan Sindall online, you've got Bovis. And what we also do is we mix in various frameworks. So I sit on a board where the equivalent of me from every other contractor in Manchester sits on that board as well. So we share details of people. So if we can't give somebody an opportunity at that time because of where the site might be up to at what stage, another contractor might be able to help. So we work very closely as contractors as well as not being in competition with each other, but for projects and things. But we do work together to get individuals. The main goal really is employment at the end of it, and a career. So I'd say for today, go through you, and then we can circulate those details. And like you say, it's all about the networking again. Only we can do those introductions for the gentlemen that are online today.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. And Stephen Harrison, do you have a question? You can put your camera on.
Hello.
Hi, Stephen. Hi.
Yeah, it's more for Tricia, really. I live down in Somerset. I was just wanting to know who I'd reach out to try and get some work experience. I've got some work experience at the end of August. I'm currently serving in the Marines, but I'm getting medical discharge after 24 years. So at the minute, I'm not at work until next March.
Okay. So what I can do is I can circulate your details to the equivalent of me in that area. I'm not actually sure who it is at the moment. I'm quite new to Morgan Sindall as well, so it's not that I'm just being a bit vague. So I'm still trying to find out who does my equivalent in the different regions. But we do also have a team of community investment managers, and we have a weekly call. So this is something that I can bring up on our weekly call and then get them details for you. So I think, Angela, for you probably just need to get a bit of a spreadsheet together of the gentlemen's names, what they require, and the area, because I think the area is really important here to make sure that we get the projects in that area that are easy accessible for yourselves, and then we can make all them connections for you then. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's to Rob. So obviously you had your direction when you left the RAF, and it went off a little bit. So I've been looking at construction site management, also health and safety, and also project management. I just need more advice on what to aim at, really, and where to go really from here, because I've got quite a lot of time on my hands. And I'm finding myself on the CTP website looking at courses, so I can't get I did the old NEBOSH because I know it's just changed, and I failed the NGC one twice, and the 5 years lapsed in May, so I've got to do it all again. But I couldn't get on a course until January, and then hopefully get the construction after that. Is there any courses that you'd advise beforehand?
Yes, there's two things. There's, if you want to go down the construction management route, and I wouldn't have anyone turn their nose up at that. That's a very good route to take, and it might be something that takes you fancy, and that's where you want to stay. A good group of people to probably communicate with would be agencies, because I know a lot of people who've had a route into the industry through agencies and coming in at, say, assistant site manager, finishing foreman level, because a lot of agencies, don't forget, will want someone at the drop of a hat, which you're in the fortunate position where you probably can do that. And you don't always have to massively demonstrate a great amount of experience, but what you will get out of it is being able to actually go to a site and gather experience. So I know some people who are current Bovis site managers who came from, say, a bit of a trades background maybe, but not specifically site management, came into the agency as an assistant site manager and effectively worked their way in that way. So that's your first question answered. Have a look at agencies if you want to look at construction management, or at least start talking with the agencies and saying, this is what I am. Because don't forget, guys, we have to remember that not every business wants the polished, finished article. They might want someone that they can mold in their, in the way they operate. So it does no harm getting on the phone, speaking with agencies. Qualifications wise, if you're looking for site management, it would do no harm doing your SMSTS qualifications, so your site manager safety training scheme, some form of scaffold inspection and first aid. If you've got those three, like I say, you're a lot more attractive to agencies, and again, you're employable on site. And I would say most construction businesses, that's the things they look for. They look for SMSTS, they look for scaffolding, and they look for your first aid qualifications as well, and the CSCS card. So all of those are all relatively doable, and they're not massively expensive to achieve, and you could probably claim them through your enhanced learning credits or what have you. So that's what I would look at. If with NEBOSH, it's a bit more of a longer term solution, if you know what I mean. If you're looking for something instant, that's what I would look at.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries. Cheers.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Okay, Tom, if you're able to put your camera on if you have a question. And Angus, if you have a question, if you can put your camera on also. Hi, Greg. Angus.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah, Tom. Can Sorry, yeah, we can.
Right, I'm out in Cyprus. I wasn't too sure if the signal was great. I am out the army in 9 months' time, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to get my NEBOSH general certificate, and I'm working towards my NEBOSH diploma at the moment. I've still got some time till I'm out, and I wanted to maximise my time and do courses that are going to benefit me when I get out. I'm looking at an ISO 45001 lead auditor course. How valuable is something like that to the workplace at the moment. Is that something that worth my time, or would you advise spending my time elsewhere?
Is this to me? Is this to me, Angus?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes,
what I'd probably suggest is, if you're working towards your diploma, try and get some hands-on experience instead of collecting qualifications, because you can end up with a big, massive CV, I suppose, and no experience in implementing them. So something I done when I left was I worked voluntary on the weekends, just to build up that time, actually getting hands-on experience doing the job. So when I went for my first role, I could say, look, I've got 6 months experience and I've got this qualification. And then once you're in the door, you can, like Rob said, you can build on them then. I think that's probably my best advice.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really quite unsure at the moment of which direction I'd like to take. I've been quite fortunate to step into sort of temporary garrison safety advisor role here. But once again, I would benefit hugely from a work placement in either construction or environmental to really gather as much information to make an informed decision as possible. So that's just for Angela there. Thank you.
Yeah,
Cheers,
no, we'll help you with that,
Thank
Tom.
you, Greg.
No
And
worries,
and a good point that Tom raised, actually, where somebody's on leave at the moment or unable to do placement, obviously accruing these certificates certainly not going to do them any harm either, though, is it?
No, it's not, by no means.
No, not necessarily. My sort of input in that is that not every organisation benchmarks themselves to ISO 45001, 9001. So just bear that in mind. That yes, it's a good thing to have, but again, it depends which industry you want to go into, which industry you want to target, and whether or not the organisations that you're looking into as your end goal actually operate on that system anyway. So yeah, it does no harm. Yeah, it does no harm, but I'll concur with the other guys. Spending a day with a current serving health and safety advisor is going to add a hell of a lot of value, and also help you boost your CV in terms of actual tangible things you can say you've done.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good.
Thank you very
Angus.
much.
Hi, Angus. You're right. You got a question? I think
you're right.
Hi.
Yeah. I've got two questions. One for Rob. I completed a first aid course at work last week, a 3-day course. Would that be enough to push towards maybe one of the management roles in the construction site?
Just in terms of first aid, if it's emergency first aid at work, the 3-day course, that's the standard course they look for. But are you saying that course alone, or other things as well as?
Well, maybe that course alone, but obviously I want to try and do things on top of that if I can as well.
Yeah. Like I say, it depends what you want to go into, but like I was saying, for site management type roles, you would be looking for the big three: SMSTS, first aid, and some form of scaffolding or what have you. But no, I would say first aid proves you competent as a first aider. But a lot of these businesses, they don't just employ first aiders. You have to have something else to go with it as well.
Okay, thank you. And I got a question for Tricia as well. Regarding to work placements, how are you kind of running them with the coronavirus and stuff like that? Because I already had one last month, and I'm in the army until end of August, and I live in Lark Hill, Tidworth area. So appreciate and Morgan Sindall work quite remotely around the UK. If I could get a work placement near me, even travelling to Essex for a work trial, if it's possible.
Tricia, you're muted.
Am I on?
There you go. Yeah, you're on.
So during the COVID-19, we've been doing them virtually.
Right.
And we are actually in the process of setting up an outreach programme virtually, which will target 4 areas. One of them is ex-military, one of them's homelessness, and there's another 2. So we're setting to do, there's going to be 4 separate weeks over a 12-month period. So we're just finalising those details, but they are at the minute being run virtually. So as long as you've got access to Teams, you'd have the full benefit of the week's work experience.
Right.
We have just trialled it with sixth form last week, and we're actually currently running one this week as well. So We use Google Classrooms and Teams, so it seems to be working really, really well. But towards the end of August, who knows where we might be? You know, the social distancing's come down already, so it could be that as long as there is a distance on site of the 1 metre, that you still might be able to go to site and still have your site tour or speak to people and things.
Because I already had a week's in Essex last month with Rose Construction. They're just lucky they could put me on site for a week. But since then, I've been concentrating getting my green card passed, which will be next Friday.
Right. Okay. So apologies, but I'm glad that I got called on. I was just messaging you on the chat. I've got another call at 11, but if you can take all the details, Angela, of the gentlemen, what it is they require, whether it's work placement, mentoring, or anything, and then also most importantly the area of where they want it, and then send them to me, and we'll get the individuals in my role from the different regions to contact you accordingly. Is that all right?
Perfect. Thank you, Angus. And what a brilliant idea, doing the work placements virtually. I think that's a great thing.
It seems to be working really well at the moment, and we're looking at getting, you know, the GoPros for doing the virtual site tours and things like that. So there's lots of things that we have got in the pipeline that we are looking at doing to address obviously the current situation. So hopefully a lot of that will be useful for the guys as well.
Brilliant. That's really good. And a question from, thank you, Angus, a question from Sam Winkless. If you're there, Sam.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
So this is mainly for Rob and Gary, to be honest. So I've got my SMSTS and my NEBOSH in construction. Now I've been waiting out for like work placements and stuff, but I've also been offered work as shop fitter. And even though I've got them things, it's the experiences that holds me back on my CV. Do you think is it worth waiting for a work placement? Because that's not always guaranteed something to come out of it, or to just jump into the work of just being on site as a bod and gain experience that way and implement your health and safety skills that you've learned and try and get noticed that way. I mean, like I'm sort of, this COVID situation sort of stopped me, just like it stopped many people where I was like working on courses, my health and safety and stuff. So I'm a bit like in limbo. I'm not sure which route to follow. If any of you got any?
My answer is no action's wasted. Nothing is wasted. So, like I say, don't approach it from, if I go this way, it might not result in anything. I'd try and get out that mindset and think of everything as an opportunity, because you don't know who you're going to meet on site shop fitting. You don't know how they're connected to other people. You don't know what relationships you're going to gain out of that. And just talking about what you've got, what you're good at, where you want to be, will sometimes get you in that area. So don't get out the mindset of believing that it's going to be a waste of time. It's not. Nothing's wasted. When the opportunity comes, grab it and just throw yourself into it, and something will come out. It might not be immediate. You know, I had some massive hurdles. Greg probably did as well. Some horrifically bad luck, but you keep going. Do you know what I mean? We don't give up. So that's my answer anyway.
I'd probably I'd agree with you there, Rob. But I think people underestimate the amount of application a normal worker does with regards to safety. Like I said to you before, you can have the best plan in the world. If the worker doesn't implement it, it's pointless. So even though you're going to do shop fitting, you will be doing health and safety. You'll understand that business manages it. You'll understand what you've learned from doing your courses, and then you'll be able to implement it. That's experience right there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, Sam, and again, just to add to that, is that I've got hundreds of sites under my remit as such. When I walk on them, I spend a lot of time with everyone at every level, because I'm not the kind of person that just, oh, you're down there, I'm up here. A lot of us safety guys, we have to be talking to everyone on site to get a picture of how it is. Now, if people come to me and say, Rob, I'm really interested in health and safety, I'm really interested in this, what can you do me, or what can you help me with? Then I'd be likely to help out, and a lot of other guys would as well. So like I say, it does no harm just talking to people, getting relationships going, because again, you don't know where that can lead you.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking as well, working from the ground up is the best way for the experience as well, right?
So sometimes can be, yeah.
All right, brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, listen to our speakers, Rob, Greg and Tricia. We could keep you on here all day and the questions will come flowing. So I'm just mindful of time. But can I ask Tricia, Rob and Greg if there's just any parting wisdom or last piece of advice that they could give our listeners?
Yeah, I'd probably say if you're not on LinkedIn, join up. You'll find most organisations are on there. And with that comes a whole directory of bloody professionals. Message them, ask them for advice. There's a Q&A, a constant Q&A on there. Good to go. Jump in, tap into people's conversations, network, and go from there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Greg and Rob.
Just pick where you want to be. Imagine, put it in your mind, set that as your target. When you get an opportunity, run, speak to people, and also a bit like Greg, I'm open to questions, I'm open to calls, so you can get my details off Caroline, no problem. Get my email off Caroline as well, and anyone can approach me. I'll help out anyone.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rob. I don't know if we've lost Tricia, but if there's any advice that she could give, if she's there, I particularly like the employer pays for your value, not your time. I thought that was a really, really good strap line, and just reminds all our veterans and service leavers that the employers want you, and just everything about you and the skills that you do have, and all the upskilling can be done when you get to the other side. But okay, listen, thank you so much for today. Some really, really good questions that have come through, and I'll pass back to Caroline. She's there.
Yes, I'm here. Hi. I just wanted to summarise, for those of you that aren't registered Billforce, the mentoring and the work placements, that is exactly what we do, and that is exactly what we can help you with. So if you're not registered, get in touch. At the moment, just give me a call, because we're working on our website due to go live very shortly. But I can register you over the phone, talk about the programme more and what it offers, and we're here to help you. We've got lots of other people like